I don't know. I'm not seeing it. So this is Silencer. This is from DC's The New Age of Heroes. Basically, the idea is they took a bunch of Marvel characters and they turned them into DC characters. Silencer seems to be a crossover between Elektra and Punisher. It's like, what if you took Elektra and Punisher and basically melded them together and turned her into some kind of new DC character? So, of all the ones they've shown, this one was the least appealing looking to me. Also, this trifold gate cover thing is really weird. I don't get it. Like, how is this convenient at all? I don't think I can even show the whole thing on the screen. This is weird to me. Whatever. Anyway, so the first one that they showed last week was Damage Number 1, who was a crossover between a little bit of Captain America and a lot of Hulk. It was okay. It was whatever. A bunch of people did videos about it. I didn't feel the need to. This video I'm doing because Yellow Flash and another YouTuber named Rorschach did videos on this, and they tore into it. They like hated it on like a fundamental level, and I read it, and I'm not seeing what they're seeing. I guess they're saying it's SJW. They're saying it's sort of pro-cuck feminist sort of thing. I'm not saying they won't be proven wrong as time goes on, and there are some dumb elements to it. This isn't perfect, but at the same time, I think they may be overreacting a little bit. So we get open with this scene in a diner where we see her in full costume, and something happens. We see that this was, I think, a week ago, and this is the last that we see of this scene. So that's kind of weird that it opens, that this isn't going to pay off for at least another issue and maybe several issues. And then we see her in, they don't even say where this is. Is this also Charleston, South Carolina? I don't know. So we see this, we see her, and she's talking about how she wants a quiet life. And basically, what we find out is that it's basically Kill Bill. If you've seen Kill Bill, it's basically Kill Bill. She was an assassin. She was one of the best assassins in the world. She was almost never caught, and then she got out of it, and now she just wants a normal life. So the last 6 years, she's been living as a regular person, free of that whole superhero stuff. And we see that she is culturally appropriating Northern European people here. And then this dude attacks, and it turns out that this dude is basically a cyborg, more machine now than man, effectively, and she's able to take him down in 4.5 seconds, and we can see that it's not, like, totally easy for her. Like, the only reason that she's able to do it is because she kind of knew who this was, so she knew where all of his vital, like, components were. So she was able to take out, like, important parts of his body, and if she hadn't known that, there's a pretty good chance she would have gotten her face punched in right here. And she, in fact, does get 2 ribs broken. So we find out that her power is that she has the ability to create this sort of area of silence that directly emanates from her body, which would be really useful for an assassin. You could just get in, get out, and there wouldn't be any noise of you. Even if you killed them in a really, like, violent and or noisy way, nobody would hear you come in or out. So that would be really incredibly useful for an assassin. So this bubble around her, that's what that is. It doesn't say whether or not she has, like, super strength or some kind of durability or through technology or whatever, because we see her, like, this guy's metal computer parts with her bare hands, apparently. So I don't know if that's just her being some kind of martial arts master, or if she also has superpowers beyond this cone of silence thing. So then we get to the scene of domesticity here, and this is where Rorschach and Yellow Flash really had a problem with the comic. Like, because all this stuff, all this opening stuff, it feels very much like an early Image comic. This guy even kind of reminds me of a character from Spawn and Youngblood named Overt Kill, although Overt Kill ended up having a much longer shelf life. The whole thing with her being like a badass, this kind of over-the-top violence. The only thing that's missing is that she should be a lot sexier, and this costume should be a lot more revealing if it were really like an Image comic. But it's not. It's current year DC, so for better or worse. Yeah, so we get this, like, scene of domesticity here, and they really objected to the fact that the husband seems to be the domestic one, but there's not really any evidence of that. Like, he says he's a good cook. The problem is that I've known a lot of guys in the Navy and where I'm at now who took a lot of pride in the fact that they could cook well, and that's something that a lot of women look for in guys now. It's kind of an unfortunate fact of life, but this is sort of a real thing here. So the fact that he's such a good cook, the fact that he is kind of soft, unfortunately, that's a lot of modern men. Now, he says that he might have finally found a buyer for the Calston place, and she says that's good. So that makes me think that he's a real estate agent. I don't know if they work together or not, but we only know for a fact that he has a job. That like I said, it may or may not be a real estate agent. We don't know that she has a job. So, like, that was one thing that Yellow Flash and Rorschach had a problem with, was the fact that she was like the provider, but there's not actually any evidence of that I can see. Like, I'm really good at remembering, like, the history of the characters and remembering, like, obscure details about creators and the storylines and some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. But in single issues, I sometimes miss, like, really important stuff. So it's possible that I may be missing something here. I actually read it twice just to see, but I don't know. I think this whole thing is kind of sweet here. It may turn out that this guy is, like, I don't know, a criminal plant or something. That he's, like, some kind of, in on the conspiracy type mole, or that he really is the cuck that something does. But I don't know. Her name is stupid, by the way. Her name is Honor Guest, but it's also a fake name. They say that a couple times. I don't know if her real name is going to be some kind of big reveal. I also have no clue what this guy's ethnicity is, because his name is Blake, which is typically a white name. And he kind of looks Hispanic, but he also kind of looks black. That's weird. So one thing that Rorschach kept saying was he kept talking about how Dan Abnett, how he always writes women to be, like, really, like, tough and bossy, and basically have all the characteristics of men. His male characters are just, like, total simp cucks. The thing of it is, though, I don't really know how much Dan Abnett had to do with the story, because you see at the top that John Romita Jr., who's the artist on all this, is credited first, and then Dan Abnett. And the credits, here we see her in full costume for the first time, it says John Romita Jr. and Dan Abnett, storytellers. Now, the reason it says that is because this whole New Age of Heroes thing, I just lost my page, hope that's not a problem. This whole New Age of Heroes thing, the idea is that they're actually going back to the Marvel method. And that's probably why they chose to do, like, Marvel characters primarily from, like, the Silver Age. The Marvel method was, and they really didn't use it for that long, my understanding. I thought it was really only Lee and Kirby that used it, or maybe Ditko and Lee and some other people, but the idea was these 85% of the work, rather than only 75% like they usually do. But the penciler does most of the plotting and the storytelling. The writer and the artist would hash out a rough storyline, and then, say, Jack Kirby would, like, draw everything, and then Stan Lee would come up with dialogue afterwards. And usually he was just working with rough notes from what Jack Kirby gave him. But I'm gonna assume, until I have evidence otherwise, that everything in here is an idea from John Romita Jr., and that Dan Abnett just helped to refine some of the things. So I don't really know how much of her characterization is Dan Abnett, and how much of it is John Romita Jr., but I'm thinking it's mostly JR that did this. So then Talia al Ghul just shows up to Silencer's doorstep, and basically she says that the Leviathan, that there's an internal war going on in there. Leviathan is from Batman Incorporated, and the big mystery of that series was, what is Leviathan? And it turned out Leviathan was basically the League of Assassins 2.0, with Talia al Ghul at the head of it. So in Batman Incorporated, they were putting out these fires and these problems and these criminal activities all over the world, and they didn't know what was causing it, and it turned out that it was just the League of Assassins under new leadership, essentially. I don't really know what they're doing with Talia al Ghul anymore. Because as far as I'm concerned, Talia al Ghul became a full-on villain when she killed her own son to get back at Batman. When that happened in, I think it was in Batman and Robin that was Grant Morrison's run. As far as I'm concerned, at that point she became a full-on villain. Prior to that, Talia had always walked the line. On the one hand, she felt a lot of loyalty to her father, Ra's al Ghul, but on the other hand, she really loved Batman, and so she was sort of torn between the two. And that was her character. And it seemed like when Grant Morrison took over Batman in more recent years, it seems like they went with Talia, that she basically chose to follow her father's footsteps rather than try to pursue Batman. In the arc that I read, recent Batman series that I read, Tom King and Joel Jones, Batman 35, where Catwoman and Talia fight each other, that seemed to be where they were going. That Talia is now a full-on bad guy who is beyond redemption. So if Silencer is like not friendly, but like kind of like on basically good terms with Talia, that doesn't make me think well of Silencer. Not only that, like they show this other guy. They call him Mr. Remedy. I don't know if that. Wait, that's not him. Sorry, that's the father. This dude right here. They call this dude Mr. Remedy. I don't know if he's an established character or not. He could be one of those obscure Batman characters. But he's the one who's leading the internal civil war within Leviathan. And he's trying to kill Talia, and then he finds out that Silencer is back. So he sends these two mooks to go and kill both of them. And so Talia gives her back... Where is it? She basically gives her back the doohickey that allows her to activate her costume. I don't know how else to put it. And it's possible... Oh, that's what it... Okay, so the costume allows her to focus that cone of silence type power so that it's not just in a couple feet around her. It allows it to follow down the gunshot. That's what the costume does. Okay. I just got that. But yeah, I don't know. To me, this just feels like a throwback to the sort of feel, if not so much the style, of old Image comics. It would be nice if this character was more attractive. Like, she's okay looking. You can see her there. But yeah, if she was more shapely, if she was... It would be easier to like her if she was attractive in that more kind of like old school Image sort of way, but what are you gonna do? You know, this probably isn't gonna be the best comic I read all week, but I didn't think it was that bad. I kind of want to read the next issue. I kind of want to read what's going on. And then there's this, which is, I guess it's like the X-Men, but it's not. Does this come out next week? I guess it does. Mortal Men. They're does it say it here? They're the children of Adam. Get it? Like how the X-Men were the children of the Atom for the longest time. That you get it? I get it. Anyway, tell me what you think. Tell me if you agree with me or Yellow Flash. Tell me if this really is the start of SJW DC, which that's a dumb name. If we're gonna call it something like that, we need a better name. It's just not as punchy as SJW Marvel. That's a good name. SJW DC, too many letters. But in any case, like, comment, subscribe. This is Unranked Chevron signing off.